Good afternoon, everyone. Allison Scarberg here. We're so glad that you guys joined us today. Today we're partnered with Hope for Three and also Sunflower Seeds Coaching and Nimisha Patel. Today we're going to be talking about advocacy and advocating for your special needs student without feeling overwhelmed. And feeling overwhelmed is a thing that a lot of parents feel when we have a child with a disability. There's so many complexities that come along with that. So we're excited to talk about this today. So I always like to go over the housekeeping items. We are in webinar mode today, which means that we can't see you or hear you, but we know you're there. We're glad that you've joined us today. We are accepting questions in the chat box. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put those questions in. If you sent questions in ahead of the webinar, we have all of those questions, so no need to put those in the chat box. We're going to get to as many questions as we have time allowable today. If you're planning your schedule, we're going for an hour. All of our webinars are recorded. Everybody who has registered for today's webinar is going to get a copy of today's slides and a link to the recording so you can go back and listen again or forward it to somebody else. And you don't have to take notes on everything you hear because you are going to get a copy of those slides. So for those that are joining for the very first time, welcome. Again, we're so glad that you're here. I know we have people that have attended many of our webinars in the past. Consolidated Planning Group has been doing webinars for years on planning for special needs. If you can think of a topic, we've probably done it. We have the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel that has over 600 webinars on planning for special needs, and you can subscribe to that for free. If you can think of it, it's out there. SSI and Medicaid waivers, guardianship, special needs trust, all of the hot buttons, transition, higher education for kids with disabilities. It's all out there. So we hope that you will find that. Consolidated Planning Group is a holistic special needs financial planning firm. We're nationally certified as Social Security advisors, members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and chartered special needs consultants. We have similar licenses as a traditional financial advisors, but additional certifications, specifically certified and working with families that have a loved one with a disability. When it comes to planning for special needs, our situation is specialized, and whether you work with us or you work with somebody else, we highly recommend that you work with a specialist that is specifically nuanced in special needs. And this is including for the financial side of the house and also the legal side of the house. There's a lot of people that come to the table. There's the CPA that's nuanced in special needs trust, which we've done webinars on taxation on special needs trust as well. It's the attorney. They're going to do the legal documents. It's the wills, the special needs trust, the guardianship, legal conversations. And then it's the financial side. We're the financial side. It's having money in the right buckets to preserve eligibility for state and federally funded programs. There's a lot of times that our kids with disabilities as minors, they may not qualify for a lot of things. Because when they're minors, it's based off of the parents' income and assets, not the kids. But everything changes when they turn 18. So it's really, really important that we do have money in the right buckets to plan for their future and the other programs that they may be eligible for. So developing a future care plan now answers those critical questions. And I hear all the time that families lose sleep at night of who's going to care for my kid when I'm gone? How much money do I need to fund a special needs trust? How and when should I apply for SSI? These are all things on the planning trail when it comes to your loved one with a disability that it's important to work on these things when you're of sound mind and body, not waiting for the crisis to happen, the accident to happen, the heart attack, the stroke, other things that happen. The truth is as caregivers for a loved one with a disability, I call it the marathon, not the sprints. Our life looks different. If you have a child that is going to have care needs for the rest of their life, not just yours, they don't just sail off into the sunset and get married and everything's, you have commitment to that. Your semblance of retirement looks a little bit different, and there needs to be some balance built in to that for you. I never have to tell parents to think more about their kids because that's all they think about. I call it, the relentless pursuit of information of how to help our loved one. And so if that's you, you're definitely not alone. But if you're going to be running the marathon and not the sprints, we've got a plan for the long term, not the short term. And your semblance of retirement has to have some balance and some respite and some semblance of what you hoped your retirement would look like as well. We always recommend that people think carefully about future caregivers and future trustees of the special needs trust. It's often not the best idea to name a sibling as a future caregiver. They're similar in age, they have hopes and dreams, they may want to go to college, have a career, have a family of their own. They could have a special needs child of their own to take care of. So we always want you to think carefully of who that person may be, and who that person may be today in your mind may change as the years go by. People get older, relationships change, and things like that. So we just want you to be thinking about those things. So today we are super excited to be here with special education coach Nimisha Patel. She is with Sunflower Seeds Coaching, and she is going to kind of talk to us about advocacy and working all this through. So having said that, Nimisha, thank you for taking the time to be with us here today, and I'm going to turn everything over to you.
Thank you, Alison, for that wonderful introduction and for the opportunity to be here today. So welcome, everybody. I know I can't see you, but I know you're there. So if you're here today with a cup of coffee or a glass of water, just like me, or simply pure determination, you're in the right place. I'm so glad you're here today. Your time is valuable, and I'm honored that you choose to spend it with us. Today, you're going to discover 3 fatal mistakes most parents make in the school meetings that greatly reduce the support that their child needs. You also will discover my 5-step method to solving that problem. And the number 1 leverage move that collapses years of trial and error into just weeks. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions. What if your child finally got the support in school and was fully understood in their needs? What if you walked into an IEP meeting full of confidence instead of that fear? And what if you had a clear plan to help your child thrive, not just survive? Now, if that really sounds like you, then let me take a moment to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Nimisha Patel. I'm a mom, a special education coach, and a leader who inspires through action. I've spent over 15 years helping parents with neurodiverse children who feel overwhelmed, confused, and alone to confidently advocating for their child in school so that they can thrive both academically and socially without the constant battles, confusion, or the burnout. So at the tender age of 3, my son, who was nonverbal, was diagnosed with autism, and a few years later came ADHD. According to the experts I spoke with, my son would never speak again, and I should prepare for the worst. I refused to accept that, and that was going to be his future. So I ran into the fire, whereas others would have fled with fear. With persistence, strategies, and advocacy, my son went from being nonverbal to nonstop talking now. He has successfully graduated high school with multiple academic endorsements, is thriving as a college student, and recently passed his driving test. So watch out on those roads. After all, he's still a teenager, and I'm still going to get scared and worried. Now, by the age of 6, my son was just beginning to develop a few words. And at that time, I really felt so alone, so judged, and on so many levels. And at every IEP meeting I went to, I felt like it was a wall of people telling me, giving me a laundry list of things that my son really couldn't do. This really made me deeply question my parenting skills, as I'm sure it has done for many. And why is this happening? And where is the disconnect in all of this? How can we change this? My turning point really came when I realized that I, and only I, had to create my own path, focusing on my son's strengths and building bridges with the schools. So today, he is thriving. The system that once doubted him celebrates his success. So if there's anything that resonated with you so far, go ahead and drop in the chat. Now, I want you to know that you are stronger than your circumstances, because that has taken me far in my thinking. So I want you to really take that and let that sink in. Now that we've covered that, let's move on to why you're actually really here. But why is the problem so difficult to solve on your own, I hear you ask? The truth is, most parents make common mistakes that keep them stuck. So let's look at these a little closer. Mistake number one, believing the experts' limitations. What do I mean by this? So many parents accept discouraging predictions as the truth. This really happens because professionals in general focus on the deficits and not the potential of the child. And that doesn't make them bad people. They're just really simply looking at the situation from a different lens. I say that because it took me so long to really take a moment and really look at that disconnect and look at it from all perspectives. So instead, I ask you to focus on what your child can do and build from there. Mistake number two, fighting against the school instead of partnering with them. Parents approach schools with anger, typically, which instantly damages relationships, leaving very little room for collaboration. This simply happens because parents feel unheard and dismissed. So instead, I invite you to learn to communicate effectively, build relationships, and use tools like the All About Me page. Mistake number three, trying to follow a one-size-fits-all path. Parents often expect books and experts and programs to provide the perfect formula for their family. This happens because they simply are craving that certainty and fear for making mistakes. And after all, we all want to be the best parent for our children, but remember, all children are different. So instead, I invite you to embrace the trial and error and really commit to that consistency to create that unique playbook for your child and family.
Nimisha, I'm reminded, we did a webinar with Temple Grandin, and I'm sure most of the people here know who Temple Grandin is. She's in her 70s now. She has autism, highly successful. She obviously had autism when autism was very much not well known and very much misunderstood. And, she went on, she transformed how cattle go to slaughter in the United States. There's a movie about her. She is a professor at a university, highly successful. But one of the takeaways that I had whenever we had the meeting with her, and you just said this, and it was just what reminded me, is what can they do? There's so many times it's so focused on what they can't do. They can't read, they can't do math, they can't do this. It's all the negative. But what can they do? Because a lot of our kids are awesome, and there are a lot of things that they are awesome at, and focusing on what they can do. And she even said, can't do math, so what? Can't read, so what? What can they do? And really focusing on that. And she even talked about how she had to have a cry room on some of her first jobs, and things that she had to do to get by. But just very encouraging. You guys can find that on the YouTube channel, but focusing on what can they do. And I also believe in celebrating the wins of what can they do. I think as parents, we often feel, I call it the Facebook parents, where we see where everybody else's kids are thriving and doing so great, but people only post the good stuff, right? Um, but but your child just made a milestone, and so what if they're 3 years behind their peers? It was a milestone, and celebrating those wins helps you get to the next win. It's not, well, that was great, but you're still 3 years behind. No, that was great, period. And here's what now, because you can do this, this is what we're going to do. And I think it's a mind shift, that is necessary in that. So I love what you say on this.
I totally agree that definitely that mind shift. If we don't shift our minds as parents, we're always going to stay looking at the negative and the deficits and all of the bad things and feeling so left, feeling so alone and isolated as a result because our kids aren't making those textbook milestones. So it's really important as a parent to have that different perspective, look at things differently. And, it might sound cliche, but yes, look at the brighter side of life because
And
there
and I
really
think
is a brighter side.
I think building them up, because the truth is the school is tough and the kids can be mean. And
Hmm.
our kids are already very aware. Many of them are very aware of what their deficits, because their peers tell them about them all the time. They already feel bad about it. And so building them up, celebrating those wins is so, so important. Thank you for that.
And that really is going to bring so much joy naturally and instantly into any family, whether you have special needs children or not. Just celebrate those wins because if we don't celebrate that, then we're showing them that celebrating yourselves is not worthy, and that becomes a whole other cycle of I'm not worthy, and that impacts them in school a lot. So with that, let me continue. Thank you, Alison. So now that we all understand the common mistakes, let's shift gears and talk about what actually really does work. But before we do, please share in the chat what's resonated with you so far. So here are the 5 steps I teach parents to solve the problem, to start creating real results. Number 1, reframe the narratives. Because become a detective and really focus on your child's strengths, not the weaknesses, just like we touched on just now. Really and truly create a little log and write down what they're really good at. Look at their expressions, see what lights them up. And that's going to really help to build on that and really take them to the next step and the next level. Number 2, build strong communication skills with the schools, using email and other forms of communication strategically and respectfully. Because when we're in that mode, we have to be respectful. Otherwise, we're just not going to get the results that we want. So, and learning how to follow up faster to get the progress of the real results. Number 3, create an All About Me page. This really is a simple document that allows you to share your child's strengths, their interests, and triggers. Now, notice I didn't say deficits, but triggers. Now, this will help them in the school. This provides them a different perspective, a different lens of your child. And every time I've done this, and I've done it for my student from when he started kindergarten up until he graduated high school. So every year I would change and edit that over the summer. And as he got older, he was able to add things that he wanted to and take out things. So we would work on that piece together. And it was really good. It was a really nice collaborative piece that I really, truly enjoyed working on towards the end of summer, getting ready for the next school year. Give teachers practical tools to support your child. And volunteer in the classroom. Help with supplies if you're able to. This really reinforces your commitment. And number four, really commit to that consistency. I know I touched on that earlier, but I can't emphasize that more because having a special needs child is a commitment in itself. And we have to raise ourselves higher to be able to be even more committed than your average parent. And number five, seek out support from someone who has been there. This actually shortens the learning curve for you, reduces the isolation, the overwhelm, and the confusion.
I just want to mention, we've all heard the phrase, you catch more flies with honey. And, we've done a lot of, advocacy and, you know, um, you know, people that advocates that'll come in with the school for your IEP and your 504 and other things like that. And I can't agree more. I actually come from a long line of educators. And honestly, the educators, I think, they're always looking for partners and parents. And, the system in itself is not always perfect, but when you're working with the schools, they tend to work with you, and there is help and support out there if you do have a problem, but they truly do want what's the best for the child. And I think when people go in there loaded for bear, they're already angry, they're already mad, and then things go poorly. So I've seen both sides of it where it's gone really well or it's gone terrible. And sometimes maybe the school isn't the great fit. Maybe it's a different school that's on the horizon or those types of things. But definitely partnering with them in any way that you can. And then of course knowing that there is support if you're having difficulty with that, but it still doesn't have to be an adversarial relationship. And these teachers and the educators, they really do want what is best. And sometimes, we've got teachers that don't have, it depends on where your kids are and where they're placed in the school. Teachers that really don't have a strong background with kids with learning disabilities and other things, and they're learning, and they have the tools and resources at their disposal, and sometimes a lack thereof. And sometimes they're working with both hands behind their back. So I do agree that relationship is truly, truly important.
Definitely.
We did have a
Mhm.
question that asked about what are you doing with the All About Me page? Are you giving this to each teacher every year? How does that work?
That is a great question. So once I've created the document with my son, I typically before COVID, I used to print one for every single teacher that my son had, whether it was PE, whether it was music, but every single teacher. And obviously, as the grades got higher, the more teachers they had, right? So I would actually hand deliver these on open night, back to school night. And I would also take it a next step further, and I would also email them. So that way they had that tool, that document in whichever shape and form that was easiest for them. So I'm thinking of what is going to be most easiest for them to grab, whether it's pulling up a quick email or having that on their table, because they've got what 20 plus kids in their classroom, right? So how can we as parents make it a little bit easier for them to help understand our child in the heat of the moment when something's going wrong?
I think this is so critically important. We've heard it called like a one-page resume or whatever, kind of that kind of thing. It's critically important. We coach parents on a letter of intent, and this is like who would fill your shoes after you're gone. That's a very extensive document. It's like 20 pages, not one page, and that's like a caregiver role. But the point of it is what makes this child thrive? What makes this child break down or melt down? And how do we recover from those types of things? And I would say that teachers truly appreciate that. Your child is one student of many, and so if they can have that insight, I think that they appreciate the time that a parent put forth for that as well. So you talk to us just briefly about Sunflower Consulting and how you partner with parents, how you work with parents, and if they have the ability to schedule a free consultation with you.
Absolutely. So, Let me just finish on that All About Me page. I have a quick story to share. So there was a couple of times when especially in the high school and the middle school, I had taken this to my son's teachers, and they actually implemented it for their own neurotypical child. So it doesn't just work for our neurodiverse children, but this is a tool that every parent can use, regardless of your child, because it gives you the edge as a parent because that teacher is going to be more likely willing to help you more when things are going wrong as well as when things are going right. So that's that collaboration piece that I talk about. And that is just like Alison said, it's very important to build those relationships and build those bridges because otherwise we're not going to get the support for our children. But going back to your question, Alison, regarding how people can get in touch with me. So you can go ahead and schedule that clarity call. And on that call, you basically will get the clarity that you are really looking for and that personalized path forward for your child to help you thrive. And you're going to walk away with confidence. And did I mention that was free?
So
Look at
that personalized path forward, I mean, that is the one size does not fit all.
correct.
And that is my heart, and it's the heart at CPG of holistic, personalized planning. We've heard of person-centered planning and things like that, and I think that that's going to be key to the truth is so many things is a catch-all and a one size fits all.
Mm,
But they're all different and different individually and abilities and those types of things. So helping, to me, I think of you as helping identify those strengths and weaknesses and then putting maybe a roadmap in place of, here's where we are, here's where we want to go, and here's the steps that are in order to the individual's current ability and where they are. That's so critically important. Like I've seen parents before, like they be disappointed of the academics that where their kid is, or especially when the child is behind and they take a placement test or something along those lines and they place them a grade level below or two or things like that, and they're like, no, 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 I want them in whatever grade. But that's setting them up for failure because they're not there yet. They got to get where they're going, to get there, and those critical skills they need to learn so that they can thrive. If we put them ahead from where they need to be, they're not going to have the successes that we're hoping for, and then they're going to end up going backwards anyway. But that's just the thing of parents and not wanting to continue to always feel behind the power curve on that for sure. And I am a parent. I have four kids. They're all adults, three with disabilities, learning disabilities, multiple things going on. And I have to tell you, I've lived this. I have lived every day of it with multiple kids, and it is hard. But having a plan and working your plan and meeting them where they are, and I put this in the chat box, they're not behind. They are where they are. And that's true for all humans. We're always looking at how are we behind but you just are where you are. We have a whole big lifetime, right? And some kids were born preemies and they were born and they had deficits as a result of their birth and other things like that. And they're going to catch up and they're going to get to where they need to be and live in their best life. But I think let's just be really real on meeting them where they are and letting that be okay. I think there's more courage in letting that be okay. And it's hard in this day of social media and comparison and all of the, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or the TikToks or these other things that you watch and podcasts and things like that. I truly think it's really, really important. So I want to go, we've got some time, and I want to talk about some of the questions that came in. The first one I'd like to read to you is, how can we bring a professional advocate with us, and how much do they charge? I feel like I'm not taken seriously by myself.
So that's a great question. Now, the cost on the advocate is going to really depend on where you are and the company itself. So those prices are going to fluctuate with depending on who you go with and the kind of services that they actually do provide. Some may just be focusing on certain things. So if they're going to be a bit broad, they may charge you more. It's really going to depend on who you go with.
There are some organizations. So I've seen 250, I've seen 350, I've seen 500 an hour. There is Partners Resource Network in Texas. I don't know for other states, but in Texas, there's an organization called Partners Resource Network. And I know that they do a lot of advocacy and they'll help on that kind of thing. There are, you know, obviously private pay advocates, and that cost is not covered by health insurance or other coverage per se. And then the thing is sometimes the school perceives bringing an advocate in as bringing in the big dogs. And there are a lot of YouTube videos and things of advocating for yourself and going in. And I think to me, the key is going in organized, having a list. What is it that you want? What is that you need to address? I mean, as far as learning objectives and other things that maybe have been missed, or maybe they're trying to take something off that is critically important. It's just what are the needs, and for as a parent, what is non-negotiable and what is negotiable? Like what are the things, and you know you can't always get everything that you want, but being organized and having a plan. And then also, I would say having a conversation with yourself of, I think it's real easy to get really emotional about these meetings really quickly. And you've heard other people's terrible stories. And so you're nervous. You didn't even sleep the night before. You can't eat, other things like that. And they're not out to get us. Right. And
Mhm.
so just remembering you're a mom and you love your kid and you want what's best for them, and they're, an education facility and they want your child's learning to be as best as possible. And so just partnering with them. And I would say, I don't believe that every person needs to take an advocate into these meetings.
I agree.
And then sometimes taking an advocate in on the front end puts the school on alert, or like that this might be a fight or an argument, and
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be that way. So you can you can try things on your own, and then if things aren't going well, you can check with Partners Resource Network on their advocacy. There's other philanthropic organizations that offer advocacy, either free or low charge, and then there's the professional advocates as well.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because to differentiate between advocacy and what I do, I coach you through the process. So I also attend ARDS, but then it's not a defensive, it's not class, it's not shown as a defensive mechanism from the parent perspective when you're going into a school with a coach, because you are fully prepared, like Alison said, going in fully prepared is the key. And really changing that mindset as a parent. What do you want? What are your non-negotiables, like she said? And I found that when I was going through the system with my son and reading all those IEP goals on all the things he can't do, I had to really pick just one thing and really zone down on that one thing. And that created the results I really wanted. So then the next meeting, I was able to pick another thing and really focus on that. So yes, I totally understand it's a slow boat to China, as they say, but it works. And that's what I teach through the coaching. So it's not advocacy that as soon as you hear that word, sometimes, everybody's defenses go up. That's not what I teach. I teach it in a more holistic way so that you have the power, you have the tools, you have the confidence to really go in there and get the services that you're looking for. But again, like Alison said, you're not going to get everything. So you have to be realistic. You can't get everything in one go. So pick one thing If there's nothing you take away from this, take this away. Just pick one thing that you really want to focus on for your child. It may be reading, it may be math, it may be catching a ball in PE, whatever that may be. You pick that one thing and you make that your mission for the next 30, 60 days. I played catch with my son, I don't know how many times, just so that that P goal, he could feel more comfortable, he could feel like part of the team. So pick one thing and then
One
build
thing
on
I
that.
will say is we have done multiple webinars on what is an IEP and a 504 and what are your rights and how to request services, how to request testing and things like that. So you can find that on the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel where we had partnered with another advocate that kind of went over what that is. It's under IDEA for the Individuals with Disability Act, basically. And there's a lot of information out there in the IEPs and the 504s and the different things that you can request through that process and how to monitor and those types of things. So if you feel confused by all the jargon and the legalese with all of that, that webinar does break that down on the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. One person says, how do I use the information provided by the school to apply for SSI benefits? So we do entire webinars on Government Benefits 101. It's on our YouTube channel. While they will take a copy of the IEP or 504, you're also going to be getting the medical records from the primary care physician, if there's a neurologist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, those things that are identifying and proving diagnosis. That is helpful for the SSI benefits. This isn't true for everyone, what I'm about to say, but it is true for many. Many families' children do not qualify for SSI prior to turning age 18 because they simply make too much money or they have too much assets. It's based off of the parent's income and assets prior to age 18. After age 18, it's based off of the individual with the disability's income and assets, not the parents. And this includes, even if you claim them on your tax return, even if they're under full guardianship, even if they live in your house, once they turn 18, it's based off of the parent's income and assets. We are nationally certified as Social Security advisors. We can help on that. We provide coaching on how and when to apply, what to do, what not to do as it relates to that. When it comes to the Social Security Administration, SSI benefits, Medicaid, Medicare, SSDI, childhood disability benefits, I just spouted off a whole bunch. It's confusing, and if you've ever felt confused as a parent on all of that, you are in good company, okay? But we've got lots of webinars on that to educate you. Our webinars are designed to empower you and give you tools and resources so that way you can feel feel empowered, that you have what it takes to make things happen, because a lot of times we just feel overwhelmed. There's so many things coming at us from so many different directions of things I'm supposed to do, not supposed to do, how not to mess this up, and those types of things, and it does feel overwhelming. But we can certainly help you with that. How does one successfully advocate for ABA in the school setting? Are there schools in the Northwest Harris County that offer ABA?
So not all schools have ABA programs because they just don't have the qualified individuals to provide that service. So ABA, I think, is best done outside of school, but there are many schools that don't do it. So they're just simple questions. You just have to find the answers to those in the schools that you're at, and they can always point you in some of the directions that they're not able to help support the child. Because again, ABA is not providing in every school single setting. And even if one district does have ABA, it may not be on the campus that your child is at. So they may be just providing it at certain campuses. So that's another question that you could ask and find out whether
And
your
that might
school
lend
district
itself
has
to
it.
that there may be a more appropriate for school for your child in that regard. In my opinion, for whatever it's worth, the therapy that we got outside of the school through private pay or through insurance was more extensive than what anything that we ever got within the school. So we were able to get some, but the therapy that we got on the outside was typically more, let's use the word robust, more robust, is how I found it. So one person had a question in the chat box. How do we know when we need an advocate? Could you give us, 3 to 5 examples, not or just basically if their goals are not being met and nobody's addressing those goals, if you're talking to them about things not happening as they're supposed to be happening and it's falling on deaf ears, that might be an example of when you might need an advocate. Are there other examples that you could give us?
The first question I usually ask my parents is that, what have you done to help the situation? Because every relationship is two-sided. So you have to be really honest with yourself. What are you doing to either fire the situation or fuel the situation? What are you doing collaboratively? And then work from there. So if you haven't done your part, then there really is no need for an advocate because you need to do your part first. And then if all else fails, then absolutely go ahead and find the support that you really need.
One person said, I just really need help. Child is at an alternative behavioral program and has been kicked out of 4 other schools. So when we have, I mean, the truth is that some of our kids have some big behaviors, some big behaviors that they can't, that the school can't handle. So do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, let's look at it from a different lens. Not all teachers in all schools are qualified or even have the tools to help our special needs kids, especially the one with big behaviors, because they just simply don't know what to do. So them getting kicked out may not be a result. I mean, it obviously seems like the result is because of the child's behavior, but when you peel back those layers of that onion, those teachers may not have that skill set. So as a result, they get thrown out because they don't know what to do.
And especially when we have a kid that is nonverbal and they can't communicate their needs. Vivian Schutte of Brookwood, I remember clearly, she said that many times, most of the time, those big behaviors are a direct result of an unmet need. And it doesn't mean you're a bad mom or you're a bad dad, or it's not that. It's an unmet need that they were not able to either verbally communicate or could not get across. And then those behaviors come up because of that unmet need or frustrations. All humans have frustrations and things like that. I will say that it is a lot more difficult. Your journey is a lot more difficult. If you have kids with big behaviors or adults with big behaviors, it's hard to get them placed. It's hard to keep them placed. It's hard to find next. Those are all things. There are many places that some of those behaviors are just basically things that the facility or the school or in general cannot handle. So one person said, the law overrules any policy. Why do schools keep trying to get away with non-compliance?
That is a great question that I get asked many times. Now, a lot of the times is because lack of resources and, in a nutshell, lack of knowledge. And I know a lot of schools now are beginning to implement that all teachers get special education training. Now, that is going to depend on the size of the school district, how much that's going to cost for the school district. So it's not that they're trying to be non-compliant. And I always try and look at it from a different lens. So pardon me if this, doesn't jive with you. But they really are, and I know Alison touched on this earlier, that they really do have the child's best interest at heart. But again, their hands can be very, very tied, that they are very restricted on what they can provide.
One person says, my son is nonverbal autistic, 12 years old. What type of support can he get from school and how can I manage his adolescence period? So, I mean, the truth is, Nimisha, not everybody has an IEP or a 504. They may have not requested it. It may have not been set up. The school may have not done testing. And there are definite and definitive ways that you can go about doing it. But my opinion is right now, here we are, middle of February. And if you're going to request that, you need to request that in writing sooner versus later because then you're going to be racing against school getting out, right?
Mm.
They have deadlines, they have timelines that they have to respond to you by, and then they schedule. So if we're trying to get testing done or an updated IEP or a 504 prior to the end of the school year, so we've got everything in place the way it needs to be, those conversations need to be starting now. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And there really is no wrong time. I mean, now is the time for anything. Like if you have a doubt about anything, get that question answered, get that question taken care of, so you know the next step, the next logical step for your child. Because time time will not stop for anyone. Neither will the school year. And
Um,
your child deserves the support now.
Tips for advocating for dyslexia. I get a lot of denials and delays for much needed services.
That is another one that comes up a lot these days. Now, again, what does the school have with regards to dyslexia services? Do they even have that as a program or as a pull-out situation that they teach these kids in a small group? So that would be my first question that I would be asking the school.
And one of my kids, we did that, and there was some testing that we did. We did multiple testing, and then there's the Wharton Gillingham or whatever. Um, and what we found, there's something called reading reflex, and I have to tell you that was a game changer. It was a game changer for us. It's, not everybody works well off of sight words or the other traditional methods. So a non-traditional method was phonographics, not phonics, but phonographics, and that was what we had tried everything and it felt helpless. And then we found that and it was a game changer. So it's called phonographics, and there's a book called Reading Reflex, and it was a total game changer. And there are people certified tutors in reading reflex in and around all across the country, not just in Texas. That may be a game changer for you, but like that is a thing of the past of being an issue. Like it would just, we made it went away. I I never thought it would, and it totally did. So be encouraged. Then we have another person that says, what to look for in private school setting for special needs. So that is another webinar that we have done on the special needs schools across Texas. A lot of them are across Houston, who they serve, how much they cost, what grades do they go up to. And there is not a such thing as an IEP and a 504 in a private school setting. But oftentimes the learning is tailored specifically to the child and their needs, and it's not necessary. There are other private schools that don't do accommodations at all. So I'm thinking of accommodations in line with the disability and the deficits that any learning disabilities may bring and that kind of thing. So to me, and I did this tour around. A lot of them have a day where they could spend the day there to see if they're a fit. And what is the teacher student ratio? What is the aid ratio? What is the classroom size? Some of our kids really thrive in that really small classroom size as opposed to a class with 25 students. So looking at all of that, and clearly from a financial perspective, you got to look at the budget, because some of these schools, I mean, some of them are reasonable. They're $1,000, $1,500 a month. And some of them are really expensive, 60, $75,000 a year for elementary school, right? So, I think it's all about affordability and budget and what might make the most sense. And I've seen kids thrive in both. I've seen them thrive in homeschool. I've seen them thrive in private school. And I've seen many public schools with awesome programs that the kids are living their best life and they're doing really great there. And so, and I just also think of your district. Just because you are at one school, if the district is if that school in that district is unable to meet the child's needs, there are likely other options that you can advocate for and you can be placed. And so much so that I've even had clients that their kids' private school is being paid for by the district because the district could not meet the needs of the educational needs of the child. I would not say, don't get your hopes up that that's going to happen all the time because it definitely doesn't, but I've definitely seen that multiple times. So one person says, my son goes to a private school for neurodivergent and neurotypical kids, only 8 kids per class, and he's doing so well. And I've heard stories like that as well. I think it's like evaluating what's working and what's not working and being willing to turn the knobs to get to where you need to be and making the changes accordingly. You guys have asked some really great questions. Let's see. I want to make sure I haven't missed any of them. One person asked how to become an official advocate. Could you comment on that, Nimisha?
I know they have some advocacy certifications that are out there that you can definitely dive into, and that would be my suggestion if that's something that you really want to do.
Okay, let's talk about this one. This is a great question. How to monitor or ensure teachers execute the IEP correctly?
That's a great one, and that's another one I get regularly. And I asked that myself when my son was going through as well. How do I really know that? What are the signs? What do I need to look for? Now, my honest answer for you today will be keep those relationships going. So, and I'll show you a story that every time, this was prior to COVID, every time I met with any of my students' teachers, before an IEP, I would typically meet with every single one, whether it's PE, art, general ed, you name it, the speech path, the OTs, the OT, whoever that may be, I would make an appointment, meet with them, and I would take them a little treat. And, we all like to be appreciated. It's human nature. So I would always give them that at the end of our meeting. And those meetings were so full of connection because I was able to really learn more about that person and they again about me and my student. And it wasn't just was hashing things out for the student. We're actually getting to know each other. And as a result, the IEP meetings become really a place where you're just gathering. For me, anyway, this was my situation. It was just to cross the T's, dot the I's, sign the papers, and then off you go. So, because of the background work I do beforehand, and this is what I teach all my clients, this is the most important, crucial thing, that collaboration, that communication is so crucial. I can't, say more, but that really helps the situation. And I'll give you an example. My second IEP when my son got diagnosed was 4 hours long, and my shortest IEP has been 20 minutes long. So you can see the difference when you put the work in, but you
Have
have
a
to put that
plan
work in.
and
Yes,
work your
that's the
plan.
plan.
And
Exactly.
things go smoothly
Right. And then
when
one time that we didn't do that is my husband got sick right before school started. And I've got all these teachers emailing me saying, hey, Nimisha, where are you? We haven't heard from you. His art is coming up. What's going on? So, because of that relationship I had built so strongly, they felt comfortable enough to ask me what's going on because they knew my plan. They knew my game plan. They knew I did that every time. So something's got to be happening for you not to be doing that. So I said to them, look, I'm sorry, my husband is sick. I've got no family here. And I'm just not going to be able to meet with you in person this time, but let's have a quick phone chat to go over the goals and the IEPs, and we'll meet at the art. But that was the one time I was not able to do it. But yeah, build those relationships. That's going to be
And
key.
I would use the term, use your tribe. As
Mm.
parents of kids or adults with disabilities, we've all, each and every one of us, have learned a lot along the way. And I have found that there are some pretty awesome Facebook groups, disease specific, diagnosis specific, special needs parent specific. And the truth is most somebody has already paved this way. They've already done this. They've already got the t-shirt and they have great advice. So leaning on the community of other parents that have loved ones with a disability, I think is also important. And then the other thing that that also does is it reminds us that we are not alone. Sometimes it feels pretty isolated, that you're, this, rainbow giraffe or whatever you are, and that you don't fit into any of the pegs that they're trying to put us in. But we aren't alone, and there are a lot of people that have been there and done that and can kind of just give you the encouragement you need sometimes just for the day. Most of the time we're pretty strong, but all of us have our days where we've had it. Things I call them at my house, I call them wheels on the bus moments and wheels off the bus. Like, and you have to laugh so you don't cry. It's a true story. But there is a lot of support out there. And this has been so wonderful, Nimisha. So thank you for sharing such great advice. Everybody is going to get a copy of today's slides and the link to the recording. This link right here is going to take you to our upcoming webinars that you can register for. You can find the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel and subscribe and look up past webinars. You're going to see that logo on the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. And we offer free personalized consultations. So if you need to take a deeper dive on the planning that you've done so far and what you need to do going forward, we're going to be here to help you on that journey. Some people say, I'd be embarrassed for you to see what we haven't done. Other people say we've done a lot, but our advisor is not special needs, focused, and I want another set of eyes to just tell me if we've got things set up right. And some people have done quite a few things and then it got on the shelf because life got busy and they just need to pick up where they left off, and we can help you with all of those things. So this QR code on the screen will take you to our calendar where you can schedule your free personalized consultation. Someone says, thank you for this presentation. It's very helpful for my upcoming FIIE, ARD, and IEP for my child. Another person says, isolation is a major factor for special needs parents, but broadening contacts, resources, and communities, it definitely takes a village. That is so, so true. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. You guys were awesome. You asked awesome questions. And Nimisha, you were wonderful. And guys, don't forget Hope for Three. Hope for Three is in Fort Bend County, and they serve the autism community. I know they've got some things coming up that they have a big day, Constellation Field, that is going to be coming up in the spring. So you'll want to check that out as well. And Nimisha, we will look forward to contacting you again. Her contact information, her QR code is in this presentation, so you can schedule your free consultation with her as well. Thanks so much, everybody, and I hope you have a great afternoon. Check your emails later. You're going to get the slides. You're going to get a link to the recording. If you don't see it, check your spam, okay?
Thank you, Allison. I
Thank
just wanted to
you.
say thank you to Allison, her wonderful team, and Meredith behind the scenes. And just a couple of words of wisdom, if I have a moment. In my house, I use this quote a lot. Be the change you wish to see in the world by Mahatma Gandhi. And a quote that my son actually wanted to share with you today. He wrote this yesterday, and it says, you can stop hiding and let yourself shine, just like you were born to shine. And thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Those are
Thank you,
wonderful
Alison.
words to leave on. Have a good one, everybody. And we'll catch up with you again soon. Thanks for attending today. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you.